Sitting next to me is certainly one of the most admired, and I might even say one of the most worshipped men in the movie world, or in the entire entertainment theatrical industry. Ingmar Bergman has directed an astonishing number of film masterpieces, and Wild Strawberries and Smiles of a Summer Night, and The Seventh Veil, The Seventh Seal, of course, The Magician, The Virgin Spring. They go on, the list, Through a Glass Darkly, and The Passion of Anna, and I've left out a great number of them. He has agreed to talk with us tonight, and I've always wanted to meet him, and later B.B. Anderson, whom you've seen in many of his films, will be joining us, one of his stars. I guess, first of all, I must compliment you on being exactly on time today. I know that you like punctuality, and we met last night, and I was a little worried because I got there just as the clock was striking, and I knew your reputation for liking people to be on time. Do you allow your actors to be late from time to time?
They aren't.
Yeah.
I think we know we have just this time to make our best, and if we start at the same time, I think it's always the best.
Yeah.
I think I have this with to be punctual from my childhood. I wasn't at all when I was a child. My father was very punctual. He was a pedant, and I was very lazy. I was very much dreaming in my childhood. I very often mixed up dreamings with reality, and I didn't know exactly what happened to me, and time didn't exist. But he educated me very hard, so I had to learn to be punctual, and this is still there. I think for some people it's very, very hard.
I think that most artists were unhappy children. Would you put yourself in the category of an unhappy child as opposed to a happy child? On balance, were you happier than you were?
Was you a happy child?
I think I was, but I have a feeling that maybe I've edited out all of the bad things and just remembered the...
So you was secure, happy?
Relatively so, yes.
Yes, but you are much younger than I am, so
Yeah.
so I think I could be your father. So I think it was quite another time.
Yeah.
And our education was very tough, very hard. It was not the education that time, in the 20s, here in Sweden, was not to build up free human souls, human beings.
It was a rigid
strong characters. It was not,
Yeah.
but it was to create obeying.
Yes, to create an obedient
Obedient
child.
slaves, you know, in the hierarchic construction of the society.
Who was at the top?
God, of course. God was in the top, and then the king, and then the father, and some steps under the father was the mother, and then the teachers, and the school, and the elder brother, of course, and then under everybody were the workmen, you know, the nurse. It was terrible. And we had this very hard.
And the children, the lowest.
Yes, and the children were educated of everybody, because the children couldn't talk, the children had no rights. The children had no rights. And, you know, the parents could never admit they had made something wrong, and said, anybody of my parents ever say, forgive me to the children. It was impossible.
Parents were always right.
Yes, they were always right, as God, as king.
Well, how in that disciplined a setting did you burst into making a film, the first film?
It's you know, when I was, I remember when I was small, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, until I was 12, 13 years, I was very happy. I was very happy, and because I lived in dreams, I was very alone, far away from everything. I just worked with I built some small puppet theaters, and I played with them. I liked dolls.
Mm-hmm. Did you like animals?
I made sketches. Huh?
Did you like animals? Did you have
No,
pets?
no. I was afraid of all animals. I was a very scared little child, but I liked to be alone and to play with my things. And I created them myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very peaceful. And then, but life around me, the darkness, the emptiness of the house, the sunshine, everything could have some magic inside that could be suddenly very unsecure, you know. And suddenly I didn't know if I dreamt things or if they existed. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, whether they were real.
So sometimes life could be very strange and very, very hard and very cruel. And suddenly, you know, the parents came to me and said, in a very strange way, "Why did you do that?" And I didn't know why. Or "You have been lying." That was the most difficult thing. They didn't know I had been lying because I mixed things.
So the things you said were real to you, but maybe
yes.
hadn't actually taken place. And,
but yes, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And you know, I was very interested in the death, and I was very interested in fairy tales and cruel fairy tales, and in music and in pictures around me. Some the old-fashioned painted in Italian, or very, very interesting. But then in later, when I wanted to be free, when I wanted to live my own life, and my parents wanted me to do things, to obey, to discipline me, to learn me the laws of the society, I didn't want to, and I revolted, and I went from home when I was 18 years old, and then I stayed away. Since that day, I stayed away from home.
Did you never contact your parents again?
Yes, after 5 years I contacted them, but it took about 20 years before we were, then, you know, I think I grew up and matured, and suddenly the parents were no parents anymore. They were human beings, and as you know, it's changing, isn't it? They were human beings, and I loved them because they were not my parents. They were human beings.
See, that's interesting. We'll pause for just a minute, and then we'll come right back. We were just laughing because I had said The Seventh Veil earlier, which is quite an un-Bergman-esque movie.
Oh, I like very much
film.
to see that you two were a little bit nervous.
Yes, I was. Now that I find you're human, I'm fine. I'll try not to say Ingrid Bergman now, and everything will work out nicely. Your first film was The Prison. I don't know if you called it The Prison.
Yes, it's The Prison. It was not my first film, but it was my first film was on my own script. I made a lot of films on other scripts before, and this
so it was the first Ingmar Bergman film, even though you'd worked in film before.
Yes.
What should we know about that? Most people probably have not had a chance to see that.
Oh, it is a very bad picture.
Is it?
It's very bad, and you know, you can understand. I think I was 26 years old, or 27 years old, and I wanted to put everything in this picture that I hadn't the opportunity to put in the other pictures. So, you know, it is a mess of of different things in it, but I think it's just one part of it that is good. A very, very small part, about 1 or 2 minutes of it.
We have that part. Is there any more that we should know about it before we see it?
It's
what should we look for?
It doesn't mean anything, for heaven's sake. It's not symbolic. I think when I made it, it was very symbolic, but it isn't.
Here it comes. And the first time you ever saw a picture that moved was on a magic lantern machine?
It wasn't, but when I was 6 years old, I saw my first picture, and I remember it, still remember it. It was about a horse, and the name of the horse was Black Beauty.
Yes.
And I would like once in my life again, if it would be possible, just to see that picture. And I think it would be, perhaps it would be possible to get it. It would be extremely interesting to see it again.
You've never seen it since?
No. And I still remember a lot of scenes and just pictures, frames out of this picture. And that may, I remember it was such an enormous experience. So I was ill a week after I had seen the picture.
From emotion?
Yes, from emotion. I had fever, and I had to go to bed, and I cried, and it was an enormous sensation. And then it took 2 years before I saw the next picture. But in that time, my brother, to my enormous disappointment, get as Christmas present Latin America, a projection machine, like this,
The magic lantern?
Yes, with small films.
A toy projector.
Yes. And
was he older?
He was 4 years older, and that was terrible. The whole Christmas was absolutely gone, and I was crying and I was unhappy. And then he was not interested at all in picture making, or in the movies. He was interested in seeing soldiers. So the same evening, I sold my whole army to him and got the projector. So we both were very happy, and then I think my career as a film director started at that moment.
We'll be right back. Talking with Ingmar Bergman, and B.B. Anderson will be joining us shortly. I have a feeling that you see things much differently from other people, and that you probably see things much better and much more intensely, and that maybe you were actually born with something different in your senses. Maybe not. But when you describe something, when we talk about your senses, I'll get this question out in a minute. It's a question about drugs. A lot of people today take drugs because it intensifies their feeling. And one of the reasons they take them, they say, is, I want to see things the way an artist sees them. Have you ever been curious about drugs to see if they would make you see things differently because you are so interested in visual things?
No, I don't use a sleeping pill, and even less drugs, because it would scare me to death. Because it's enough as it is for me. It's more than enough for me, and that I have such a lot of impressions the whole time, and I have to computerize them the whole time, and and to put them into order. So I must be very careful with my impressions, and I think it's because of that I don't want to go abroad, because it's too much impressions always.
Yes, you've never been to America.
No.
And is there any chance that you will someday come to America?
I would like very much to come to America to sometimes to stay there shortly, and to see if I could stay there and perhaps produce a play or something like that. And, because going around like a tourist, I think, is impossible. But to stay on the stage with actors and actresses, we are all of the same family. It could be a feeling of security, but that is far away. I don't know. We have no plans. They have asked me sometime to come over and to produce a play, but I don't know.
And you feel...
But that would be perhaps a good solution, because if I have a good, secure job there, I can slowly take all the impressions into my mind.
And you'd have something to concentrate on.
Yes.
Yeah. You could have any actor in the world work for you if you wanted to. I'm sure. I hear them all the time saying, that they would go anywhere to be in your film or do 5 minutes in a movie of yours or something. And yet you make the movies with these people that we're familiar with and friends of yours. Some of them have been in almost all of your movies, it seems. Is there any particular reason why you don't want to take somebody else, some famous star, or is there any great star that you would like to work with?
I tell you, we don't see people as stars.
Yes.
We see them as artists, as actors, and actresses, as human beings here in Sweden, because our basis is a repertory theater here in Sweden, and we don't we are not working with stardom and stars and so on.
Let me rephrase that then. Have you ever sat at a movie and said, I would love to know that actor and use him in a film?
Yes, but that is because he's a marvelous, he or she is a marvelous and exceptional actor, and as now with Elliot Gould, you know, he came here and he was as if he had played with us for years.
Yes.
From the first day, he understood the special atmosphere in our and self-discipline and sensitiveness.
Sensitivity?
Yes, sensitivity of our work.
Yeah.
And so he enjoyed it, and we worked. We played the game together. It was no problem.
And if you thought that would happen more often, now that you know that it's possible.
So to work, yes, to work with Swedish actors or foreign actors, I think it's no problem. They have all the same situations, the same tension, the same problems. We have all the same language.
Do they hate having to go to that island? Do they ever say, "Oh, please, Ingmar, let's do a movie here near home and not fly out to that island again"?
No, not yet. We will see. Perhaps it happens one day. We joke about that sometimes.
How is your temper? Do you ever blow up at an actor?
I try not to. Sometimes it happens, and I feel it as a fiasco. It is
Nothing good comes from it?
no. It's only very, very bad to do that, because the actor is in the front of the camera or on the stage. He or she has all the big problems. If I blow up, if I scream or quarrel to him or to her, it is very unsuccessful.
But it has happened. What precipitates it?
Of course it has happened. You know, I have made 32, 33. It had happened more earlier times.
Yeah.
Not now very much, because the whole job for a director is to create an atmosphere of complete security around the actor. So the actor must feel completely secure, and that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Let us take a break for a moment. We'll be right back. If a dictator took over in Sweden and said, you have to choose between the theater or movies,
Yes.
what would you do?
If a dictator took over in Sweden, I think I would not exist.
You would leave.
No.
But is one of
because
the
the freedom, you know, the freedom under which we work is the basis. Nobody can come to me and say, do that or do that. Not at the theater, not in the film. I am my own master, and I want the actors and the technicians and the people around me to be equal on the same. They have also to be their own masters. We have to create under feeling not afraid, feeling self-conscious, feeling in a way happy with our work. We must feel proud that we just do this thing, you know, this object, this thing of craftsmanship. That is all. That's
When I spoke to Orson Welles, he said only once in his life did he have complete control of the kind that you insist on and have had all through your career.
I think it would be absolutely, you know, it's absolutely impossible for me to have somebody who has nothing to do with the artistical work in my picture to interfere, to involve. If he tries, I ask him to go to hell.
Yes.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So we.
And is that maybe?
But that is the difference is that the actors or the technicians or the cameramen, they all discuss. We all discuss. What to do. We sit together and we discuss, and they say that this is not good, and couldn't we do it like this or something. That is different. We all the people who are involved have the right to say their honest opinion about what we do.
But if someone came to you and said, this movie won't make money unless you put so-and-so in it instead of someone else, you couldn't live that way.
I asked him to go very quickly out of the studio because perhaps I would grow up.
So if you did have to work in a country where it was that way, do you think you would have to give up
Yes.
movies and make some other form of expression?
I don't know what I should do. It would be terrible.
Yeah. See. What are your views on psychiatry?
What did you say?
Psychiatry.
Yes, what is that? Yes, I know what is that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean by that, people
What are
constantly
use? What are
analyze
use of
your views on psychiatry.
My
you're,
views.
You're analyzed so often through your work. Would you object to being analyzed by a psychoanalyst?
I have been once in my life to psychiatrist. It is now about 15 years ago because I got restless legs, if you know what that is. When you lay down, the leg starts to...
Do you get that too?
Yes.
I get that all the time. My legs drive me crazy
It's
when
terrible.
I'm trying to go to sleep.
It's terrible. Have you had this in your...
I've had it many times. It's just
we can...
anxiety in the legs.
After the show, we can talk a lot of it.
All right.
About it. I will tell you everything I know about it.
I would have thought a Swedish masseur would be the answer rather than a psychiatrist.
No. But I tried a psychiatrist, and he was very polite and said, "Yes, Mr. Bergman, I've seen all the pictures, and I've been waiting for you." And we sit down, and he was very interested. We talked, and then I came back another time, and we talked. And the third time he said, "Mr. Bergman, I'm sorry, you are extremely healthy."
Well, that was terrible news.
Yes, I have still my restless
still have
legs.
anxious legs?
Yes.
We'll be right back. We have one other piece of film now that comes much later in your career. That's from Wild Strawberries. Do you know which piece of film we have of that?
Yes, I know that. It is, I have been working very much in the Swedish, the Scandinavian tradition. Perhaps you know the Swedish film history has a very famous time from the about 1913 until the early 20s, and it had very much to do with man and the landscape, man's destiny and the landscape. And in my early pictures, especially in the Virgin Spring, I worked very much in this tradition, and it has always been very close to me, this early Swedish silent tradition. And the great man of this tradition was an actor, director, whose name was Victor Sjöström.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, when we made this picture, about 76, 78 years old. And I asked him if he wanted to do it, and he said, no, I'm too old. He was very ill. But I was going on, asking him, and suddenly he said, yes, I will do it. And it was wonderful, you know, to sit down with him every day and talk with him about what he had made, how he had created his masterpieces of those early pictures. And one of the most beautiful close-ups I have got in my life is in the end of this picture.
Mm-hmm.
When you know, it's the picture, the Wild Strawberries, is about a journey through a life. It's one day of the old man's life, and he thinks back on his life, and in the late evening he's in bed already, and he thinks back suddenly on his early youth, on his first love, and on his parents. And there I have a long close-up. That is one of the most beautiful close-ups I have got in my life.
Let's take a look at that. Can you explain why something happened right there that hadn't any other time? What do you attribute the close-up to? Anything you said to him?
The circumstances were very bad, because he was in a very bad mood. Because I had promised him that he said, yes, I will make the picture with you, but under one condition. I will be at home every day 4:30 to have my whiskey.
4:30,
yes,
whiskey.
Yes. Yeah. And this day we had to ask him to stay because of the light over the landscape. And he was extremely in a bad mood, and quarreled and was angry to me and said, you have promised, and I can't get my whiskey. And I said, you can get my whiskey here. But he said, no, it's not the same. I want to go home. I want to take off my clothes, and I want to sit in my morning coat, and I want to have my whiskey. And then, and when we worked under pressure, and we were both of us a little bit angry, and suddenly he said, angry to me, and said, you have promised, and I can't get my whiskey. And I said, you can get my whiskey here. But he said, no, it's not the same. I want to go home. I want to take off my clothes, and I want to sit in my morning coat, and I want to have my whiskey. And then, and when we worked under pressure, and we were both of us a little bit angry, and suddenly he said, no, let's take this scene now. And we put up the camera, you know, and he was sitting in a corner. And then I said, Victor, please come now. And he said, yes, I come now. And he came out. It's just outside the studio. The last scenes are made. And then and he said, what do you want me to do now? Very angry. I said, you see your parents? I see my parents. And then I said, I had already the feeling this will be a catastrophe. But we have to take it, because I have urged him the whole day, and I had lost the battle, and I felt very guilty. And suddenly I said, camera, and go on. And suddenly we got this.
And that was it. It's lucky you didn't decide not to put film in the camera. You were so sure that it wouldn't work.
But
did you learn anything from that? I mean, by that, did you think maybe after this I should make more actors angry?
No. It's just strange. Mm-hmm. Because if we had been in a good mood, if we had been just sentimental, mm-hmm. if we had been emotionally involved in the situation, both of us, we had been, you know, in a special emotion. I think it had been very bad. Now, you know, he was away from everything, and suddenly he cut out everything and the emotion came up. Do you understand?
Yes.
It had never been used before. We didn't use it. We didn't rehearse. We didn't try it, you know. We didn't press it out. It was not created under pressure. It just came suddenly. And that is, that phase suddenly has so very much about experience, about tenderness, about an old man's sadness for lives going away. I think it's the most one. And I love this man.
Did he live to see the film?
I think 3 months later he was very ill, and I don't know exactly if he saw the picture.
Gee. We'll be right back. There are now 3 of us here because the wonderful B.B. Anderson has joined us. That's not the correct pronunciation of your name in this country, is it, B.B.?
Say it again.
I say Anderson.
Andersson.
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 Is B.B. right?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm half right.
Perfect pronunciation.
Have you been listening to us out here?
Yes.
Have you learned anything that you didn't know about your boss before this? Did you know that he had gone to a psychiatrist about his legs?
About his legs?
Yes.
She's my boss. In the studio.
In the studio.
Some of it I've heard before, but
yeah.
There was something you misremembered with the psychiatrist.
Yes? Did I?
Yes, I happened to be around because I know that the psychiatrist didn't say he was extremely healthy.
He did not say
No,
that.
he said that he was so full of neurosis, so if he took them away, he would probably stop making films anymore. That came out extremely...
I can't remember that. I have forgotten this.
Yes.
Is it true?
See, that's interesting.
true.
Oh, I think she's lying.
Those are very different versions of the same story.
But you see, it's a Freudian...
No, it's up to you to judge.
Well, someone made a
I
movie
didn't
about
say
that once.
that-
People giving different versions of the same story.
Yeah. But
so
I
you
didn't
remember
say
it that way?
that the psychiatrist was right. I just said that is what he said.
That's what he said. I see. Somehow I like your version better.
It's
I don't know why.
funnier, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know whether to have my nervous legs seen to or not now, because I don't know whether I can stand to find out that I'm...
You have nervous legs.
That I'm neurotic. Yes, from the knees down, I must be intensely neurotic. I don't know why that is.
You have got something in common.
That's right. Yes.
I don't have nervous legs.
You don't?
No.
No. Are you nervous at all about appearing publicly, aside from acting? In other words, talking like this, do you
Yes.
feel that you...
I feel a need to be funny or something like that, which I
Oh, you don't
cannot.
have to be funny.
No.
No, I'll handle that part.
Okay.
Do you think seriously for a second that psychiatry is a bad idea for actors? This argument has raged back and forth about whether if a person had his tensions and neuroses removed, he might not continue to do.
You know,
to
I
make
think
great art.
I think that neuroses are helpful because if you get aware of them, maybe you will block something that would come out easily if you're not so clever. I don't think that you can get rid of them easily, but if you're aware of them, maybe it stops something that goes out of you spontaneously. It's up to the audience to discover your neuroses and not yourself.
Do you mind seeing yourself when you... do you watch your films from when you're making
Yes, but I
them?
mind seeing it.
You do? What would you change about yourself?
Everything.
From top to bottom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah. See. Is it... When you appear in a film that's not an Ingmar Bergman film, which you have a couple of times, does she have to get permission in order to appear somewhere else?
I'll tell you something. No, I shouldn't. No, I'm not going to tell that. No, that is a bad idea.
Well, you could tell it, and then we could...
Well, I'll tell the film without naming which one it was.
All right.
Ingmar wasn't very happy with the film I'd made because I told him that it was a very unhappy experience. But finally he said, I think I should go and see it. And we went to a very small movie house out on that island where I live. And
An American
it was a terrible copy of the film.
print.
Yes, terrible print. And Ingmar sat there, and all of a sudden, he didn't get restless legs, but his stomach got so upset. And he was going like that every time I was on the screen. He went. And then when the film was over, he said, "If you do another thing like that, I'm not your friend anymore." Right, he wasn't.
We have been working together so many years, you know. I think since Bibi was 17 years old. We started in a commercial together. You know, it was so... here in Sweden, it was... The film industry stopped to make films for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And it was a financial catastrophe for all of us who was in the industry. We had... We could work at the stage, but it was very bad. And so a soap company came and asked me to make pictures, some 9 commercials, 1-minute commercials about soap.
About how to smell less bad.
Yes, yes. And I said yes. And I liked it. I liked very much too. I'm very proud of those 9 commercials.
And nobody said, "But you're an artist, sir. You can't possibly lower yourself to soap."
Yes, people said, but I said, "Good heavens, I get money for it, and it's a good job. It's a job of craftsmanship, and I liked it. And I was very proud of it." And I made a small fairy tale about 1 minute long, and I needed a princess. And somebody said, "Why do you not try Bibi Andersson?" I say, "Yes, no, I want her sister. Because her sister is very beautiful and is a dancer, and I would like..." The man said, "Please try her." And I asked her to come to the studio, and I said yes. And then Bibi and I started our very, very long work together.
And
and friendship.
He put a classical joke on me, and I was 16. I was still in school. And I was hardly kissed ever in my life. I don't remember, but I don't think so. And the story was that as a princess, you know, it's about the princess and the man who looks after the pigs. You ever heard that?
No, I don't know.
Anyway,
Anderson,
it's a classic. But she wants something that plays. He has something that plays, and she wants it, and he wants 100 kisses. So the short film ends with that I'm paying him kisses. And after about 15, Ingmar said, "Stop," silently to the cameraman. And we went on and on and on and on for 98 kisses. And everybody laughed when I finally realized that he had put me on.
I'm surprised you ever spoke to him again after that.
I thought it was something.
We'll be right back. We're back. I'm talking with Ingmar Bergman and with Bibi Andersson. It's always said that Ingmar Bergman understands women.
On for 98 kisses, and everybody laughed when I finally realized that he had put me on.
I'm surprised you ever spoke to him again after that.
I thought it was something.
We'll be right back. We're back. I'm talking with Ingmar Bergman and with Bibi Andersson. It's always said that Ingmar Bergman understands women. Would you say that's true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's there are directors who are famous for working with women, and for some reason they get along with the women better than they do with the men. Is it that way with you?
No.
No, it's not so. I think I like, because I'm a man, I like more to work with women, to talk with women, to be together with women, of course. But I think it has nothing to do with that. I am passionately interested in human beings, in the human face, in the human soul. And if it's a man or a woman, it's indifferent. I don't mind. But to work with on the stage or in the studio is much more fascinating to me, because I think acting is a very special woman profession.
Very special woman's profession.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Women have much more talent for acting. And I don't say it in a moral, as a moral judgment or in a negative way, but it's not so difficult for them.
Why should that be? I've never heard anyone say that before.
I don't know. Perhaps it's very difficult to explain that, but women are more open. They open up more. They are more fascinated. Wearing clothes or not wearing clothes, to look in the camera or the audience is a sort of a mirror. And I think women are more, perhaps from education, more used to enjoy this looking into that mirror. That is the audience or the camera's eye. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And they are not. They don't feel. If a man stands in front of a mirror and looks at himself, he can perhaps feel a little bit ashamed of it. He looks at his clothes and his hair and his face. A woman by education is not ashamed of looking at herself. Do you understand what I mean?
I do, but I wonder, it surprises me, because women are supposed to be more vain, much more concerned with how they look, much more afraid that they'll be seen at a bad angle or in a bad light, or...
But that's different. I think that's different.
I think Ingmar means that it's easier for a woman to camouflage her narcissistic feelings, but for a man it becomes unpleasant immediately. I don't know if that's what you mean, but...
Yes, it's just that. By education. We are a little bit ashamed when we look at the mirror. Women aren't.
Do you ever argue over how a scene should go? Have you ever said to him, "You're just wrong, I'm an actor and I know what's right"?
Yes.
No, I never say that.
You're arguing now.
No.
She always tells me about... it was her question.
Yeah. Tell me what I tell you.
Can you remember time when
we argue, yes. Yeah. But I don't call it an argument. I just call it that I'm explaining myself. And maybe I'm doing it in an arguing way. I don't know.
It's nice. I like very much when the actors tell me what they want to do.
But what's so good about Ingmar is that he never says to an actor that you are wrong. That's a very common sentence otherwise from directors, that you have misunderstood and you're wrong. Because it's, excuse me for explaining you, but that's how I experience it, that an actor can never be wrong because what he expresses comes out of him. So even if he misunderstands maybe the whole idea of what Ingmar wants to say, he cannot make a scene wrong because he does it honestly from himself. So therefore, you have to discuss in other ways than you must do it another way. It's not like that. It's more talking psychologically about the person you're playing, and not talking to the actor and changing him, but changing the thoughts about that person you're creating. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's much more fun because you don't feel attacked personally. You feel like this is something we're doing apart from ourselves.
We have a problem of time. We'll be right back.
A female prima donna. I only have seen men prima donnas.
Really?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, that is interesting. Maybe because they're just always a little vaguely...
They have so much, so they must build up themselves in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
So
okay. There does seem to be an unusually, in fact, an unfair number of beautiful women in Sweden. I've noticed that walking down the street. It's just remarkable. Is there any reason why this should be? Is it true?
Yeah,
it certainly seems that way, unless I just happen to walk on the right streets in Sweden.
No, I think...
Do you have any trouble finding beautiful women for films?
No, what we have, and that is strange, I think, we have an enormous amount of beautiful, high-talented women actresses. Mm-hmm. And that is very strange. And it comes new actresses.
Really?
The whole time, yes. Be careful.
Do you have any movie that you consider a complete failure?
Oh, many. Many. From financial way or from artistic?
Either one. Or have you ever had both at once?
Oh, yes. You know, I made 32 pictures or something like that. And at least 10 of them have been catastrophes from artistic and financial point of view. 10 of them have been, I think I made 10 pictures I can say this is good.
Is there one that everyone else considers a success and you consider a failure? Does that ever happen?
No, it's not that.
I usually see the same thing you do.
Yes.
Have you seen any good movies lately, either of you? I must tell you how much I enjoyed The Touch, by the way. I did see it.
Yes.
And I could have made it easier for you there, I suppose. But you're wonderful in the film. And you're wonderful here, too. Do you mind if we talk this way for a moment?
Oh, I'm happy.
Okay.
Oh, you're wonderful, too.
Oh, I am, I know, yes. Are you ever coming to America? You've been there before. You made one film there. Is it possible you would come back?
I'd like to.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Before I die, I must go back.
Do you like all movies? Can you sit in a movie and not be bored, no matter how bad it is?
I like all movies. I sometimes I just use movies like a relaxation, and sometimes I learn, especially from the earlier American pictures. I have learned a lot from the technical standard.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot.
And they supposedly watch you to learn.
Yes. You know, Hitchcock has learned me a lot. His technical standard is enormous, especially in his earlier pictures. And I like to go to the movie. I like to sit down.
Name one you saw recently that you liked.
5 Easy Pieces.
5 Easy Pieces, yes.
That's a wonderful
good.
picture.
Yes,
And I like to sit there with other people, and it darkens, and this lightened spot, the white screen, to grow there in the darkness. I think it's a marvelous sort of drug. It's a drug.
That's your drug?
Yes.
And you don't sit there thinking, I would have moved the camera this way, or why is he so close in this scene, or that? Can you just enjoy the story like a child reading a book or watching a movie?
Like a child.
Let us take a break for a moment. We'll be right back. We're back with Ingmar Bergman with B.B. Anderson. Can a director destroy an actor?
Many directors destroys actors by over-directing them, by giving them every single thing and taking away the initiative to come alive yourself.
Do you think he could act?
He's fantastic. He's very funny. He's best when he sometimes shows the movements he wants you to make. Then it's very good.
No, I hate acting, you know. I'm much too shy.
But don't you feel you're acting now, in a way? I mean, the situation of being interviewed, isn't that part of acting?
I try to act the part of Ingmar Bergman.
Yeah.
That can be somewhat difficult. But
you have no desire to be on the screen yourself, even in the little bit that the way Hitchcock is, where he puts himself into his movie.
I've been on the screen sometimes, and I think it's awful. I hate to see it. It's terrible. It's you know, it's not my business. I have acted as you have.
Yeah.
And I felt the whole time that I wasn't inside inside me as an actor. I was outside looking at the whole thing, you know. Because my eyes and my ears were far from what I was doing, behaving on the stage. It was outside to see the whole thing, to just control the direction.
We'll be right back. How many more films do you think you'll make?
I don't know. I hope to go on making pictures. A another few years. I have
Few years?
Yes, because it is a very tough job. It's a very hard job.
Yeah.
I hope to stay on the stage until they carry me out, you know.
Ah, so that answers the earlier question. If a dictator said you have to choose between the movies or the stage,
Yes.
you might choose the stage.
Yes, exactly. But I think I will make some 5, perhaps 6. If
Make it 6, would you? It's been such a pleasure talking to you two, and it's hard for many people to believe that it's possible to actually meet you, and I'm one of them, and I have, and it's been a great pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good night to you, and good night to both of you. So long.
Thank you.